This meeting is being recorded.
6 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Would you join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, sorry. I was getting our microphone set up. Councilman Rao?
Present.
Councilman Hunter? Here. Mayor Rao?
Here.
Councilman Library? Yeah, don't think so. And Councilman Fitzsimons?
Present.
Are we in compliance with our open meeting laws?
Yes, we are.
Public comment. Do we have any public comment related to anything on the agenda tonight? Anybody online that has a public comment for anything on the agenda?
No?
Okay. Consent agenda. We do have, which minutes were not on there?
Okay, we approved 6/15/2021 last meeting. We do have 6/24/2021 and 7/8/2021, but 7/22/2021 is like that close to being finished.
Okay, so we won't have that one on there tonight. I haven't had time to go through any of these, so I'm gonna abstain from voting on approving the minutes. Okay. I don't want to approve anything that I haven't read. Okay, do you have any other comments on the consent agenda?
Can we still break that up then and do the approval of the bills rather than minutes? Right, Franklin?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to break that up then and make a motion to approve the payment of the bills.
And I'll second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the payment of the bills. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, approve or deny minutes, meeting minutes for 6/24 and 7/8.
I think we should table until we've had more time to review them, because I haven't looked at them myself either.
Okay,
Okay.
Tommy's already said that.
Yeah.
John. Okay, we're gonna table the minutes then until our next meeting. Okay, items for discussion, possible action. Mr. David Cottrell, would you step forward, please? This young man, in the last couple of years, he's put on a lemonade stand down here and sold snacks, collected money, and donated to different places. Last year, he donated to the hospital. Well, this year, he set it up and did all this stuff down here, and he's donated it to the Boxcar Museum. I think it's pretty outstanding that a 10-year-old takes things on himself to do this. And running a lemonade stand, he come up with $419 to donate to the Boxcar Museum. So,
Good job, David.
you got this show of appreciation. Says, in recognition of David Cottrell for his outstanding efforts and generosity to the City Heritage Boxcar Museum. Thank you, sir.
And he would not take no for an answer on selling lemonade to you, even if you didn't want lemonade.
Good salesman.
All right, thank you. David. Okay. Approve or deny moving forward to exchange land with Steve Culverwell regarding lots 003-151-23 and 003-151-12. Mr. Culverwell.
I did the best I could. The county, this came off the county line, oh, you guys got one. But their lines are a little bit off. I drew the actual lines in, given the fences on there. You see, on your copy, you might be able to see the map, but you can see the fence lines right there, and there's a fence line right there, there's a fence line coming up there, that's the existing fence lines. I showed Grant the corner lot, I showed Grant where
That point is.
This point is, yeah, over, I dug a hole, it's right on just right by that sign right there.
Okay.
Okay, I took these, I have a map in the office, Leonard's, and I went them online and I actually measured the actual dimensions. So the city's triangle there is 6677 square feet. The one I want to trade is 4570. So I'm getting a little bit more property, but I think we agreed that there's a transformer in that corner right there. And it shows that transformer.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to pay to have that moved back over onto the city property, wherever you guys want to put it, there or here or wherever.
Okay.
And I will produce the map. I'll also pay for the map that does the exchange of property.
Okay.
And your
Grant,
part-
did you check this out?
Yes, I went and looked at it with him.
Okay.
It does help us some, but not a ton. But I don't have any objections to it.
Is there an easement there?
That's where it does help us some, is there are two pieces of property that have us landlocked in there, and this opens up a little bit more property to us that gives us access, but it still comes down to a point where at our property, we really don't have any access. So there is not an easement there.
You won't need one for me if we make an exchange. For your share of this exchange, like I said, I'm moving the transfer, I'll pay for the map. You have, I asked Grant if they would relocate the fence. It comes out here on your property, and I want to just put that chain link fence across like that. Chain link fence right
Okay,
there, like that. This is cities,
Okay,
and this is the corner I want to trade for that corner. See, you're coming across my property right now into the transfer station.
okay.
This belongs to.
This is the road that goes,
That's
old road.
that's Lincoln Street, actually.
and then there's a fence here going across the property.
Yeah, right, you have a fence here. Now, I have a fence going across my property fence, but this is not fenced, that's open. And that's what the city's been crossing, that property right there. So I want to trade you to give you ownership of that property, I'll take ownership of this.
Is that actually Lincoln Street there? Is that a street or is that just there?
It's just there. It
Okay.
was on the prior maps, when Lane Truman and Sam Moore owned it, they actually had it subdivided into 7 lots. And they had Lincoln Street extension run through there. But then, when Adam bought it, he did a reversion and he reverted back, took the road out, reverted it all back to one piece.
Hey Steve, let me ask this. Because if I remember right, it's just you want to give us that corner, that triangle, right?
Right.
What if we did? How wide is a road usually? 24 feet?
Oh, usually?
Yeah.
Typically, you have 12 feet per lane, so 24
Okay.
feet.
So what if we cut over 12 feet or 24 feet? I'm sorry, to make it squared off more. So technically Grant's right that the triangle's not going to help us any because we
Well,
still
it's
have.
gonna help you with the fact that if I fence it in, you won't have access to the road.
Well, you bought the land having actual notice that there's a road there. But,
No actual notice, and there's no road on the maps.
yeah, so the law requires you to go and observe the property before you buy it. And you have actual notice that there's a road going into the thing. So my question is, if we did 24 feet more of that triangle, that way we wouldn't have to take an easement out on anyone's property. And that means, I mean, it's up to you, I guess.
I'm not sure which way you're asking to take the 24 feet.
So to the northeast, you see what I'm saying?
Where the road is now.
Yeah.
See where the 0 is on the 4570? That dot, that line going up and down, he's talking about moving that 24 feet over, so that you actually have access, full access going
Into the transfer station. What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't do that, but then I just wanna make a straight change and you'll have to take care of the transformer and the fence. That gives you complete access to your property. I don't think we'll ever use it, but it's there in case Meadow Valley comes in and says.
And my thought is it just makes it clean for us, because then we actually own the road that goes up to the transfer station with
Well-
full access, right? Well, I mean,
On his side, yes.
if we had to move the road, then we had the 24 feet to get there, right?
If you look at right where the A is on there, that's the hole where the two dumpsters go, the bins.
I don't have it. You say, okay,
If you look at where that little yellow box is there,
okay, yeah.
we have access on both sides of that. So
Is that transformer fed from overhead?
no,
No.
it's underground.
Underground.
It shows, the maps show an overhead line, there used to be overhead there somewhere between 2005 and now, it was changed underground.
Well, I think when those guys subdivided it, I think that's when it was
They
done.
put it in.
I think it was. I think that's when it happened.
I wouldn't mind leaving the transformer where it's at, but the problem for me is, would it be cheaper to, I need 3-phase for my pump, and I'm gonna be putting it on there, I'm drilling a well, and put a little pump on there, and I'll need 3-phase power, I think we're going 2-phase coming.
Single phase coming to there.
So it's cheaper to pull another 3rd phase through the existing thing, or to take.
I don't know the answer to that question.
I don't mind where it's at right now, the location where it's at is pretty close to where I may decide to build my well, I don't know.
Okay, well, if we can, and I don't know what it would take to, we would have to have 2 separate transformers there, because the power we need is single phase, the power you would need would be 3-phase, so we'd have 2 separate transformers anyways. So,
Yeah, they could pull off the same transformer there.
what's that?
They normally pull off the same one though for.
Same transformer though.
Not in
Third of the
3-phase,
highway?
you always see them set up
No.
at least 2
I'm gonna put-
transformers.
For this first year, I'm gonna put it on the northeast half of the property. For this first year, I'm gonna put it on this.
How wide is that bottom part there? I was wondering how far 24 feet's gonna go there.
Third of the highway then.
Yeah.
24 feet is gonna make us build a new gate and everything. So 24 feet to the east of the property line there.
Northeast.
Is up here, this line? Okay.
That would.
But we still wouldn't have to change anything. It would still be just the way it is now, except the fence would be moved, right?
The fence would have to be moved at least that way to the northeast.
That's the same line.
We have a gate right here.
Right.
So that means if 24 feet over here, we've got to move the gate over here now.
Well, if we left it on the corner, we could leave it right where it's at.
2-acre field in there.
Okay.
Just to get.
Yeah, why do we have to move the gate?
Well, we don't. What's
Because
the
my
purpose of
tags,
the 24
my tags,
feet then?
no, my tags.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
wondering.
see, I see. But I mean, as far as,
Then I own
right
property in
now.
both areas.
Right now,
And the
yeah.
value
We
of the
wouldn't
tags
have to
was
move.
like,
Right now, I don't see if that.
I'm saying if that was pushed 24 feet, people could still turn in here.
I'm selling mine for 20 acres.
Yeah.
240,
Yeah.
that works also.
what's,
What I'm saying is the turnoff wouldn't have to be lined up right on. If we go 24 feet, it still turns.
Put a few here.
how wide is this?
Makes a difference.
How wide is this?
Probably
Butcher block.
100 feet or more.
And
Oh,
he's-
is it?
he's saying
So,
it's
okay,
gonna
so
be
24 feet's only gonna be about like
Talking
here.
about
Yeah,
possibly
if
on this
that.
other half,
Okay,
right on
I
this half
see.
over here.
I see.
Possibly putting in the.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't matter either way. I just don't know if we own an easement already into there.
I would be surprised if we do,
Yeah.
but just the way things.
Road is here.
Yeah.
Goes all the way
But we're
through.
landlocked in.
It doesn't right now.
It doesn't, because it's fenced.
It's
I mean,
fenced.
we have an
it's all
existing
fenced.
road.
There's a
so
road
that
going
people
through
who
there,
buy
it's,
that
that they laid in there.
call
There's a
access.
gate here and a gate there.
Um,
There's a road that goes through. But it's, right now,
Anyway,
when they did a reversion, they
So
took
it's
the road
just
out.
up to whatever the
So
board wants to do.
theoretically, it's not there, but it could be put back in. It's actually there
And you'd have to put it back into the park.
Yes, exactly.
I agree.
And so there's a gate right here right now. There's already a gate right where the road comes through right there. There's a gate right
Yeah,
there.
I mean,
double gate
you
right
can
there.
see it there. It's not paved. Yeah, she's.
I mean, that's just one thought I went through. I just want a little piece here to just, so I can get just a few deers so my tax become more valuable.
And you'll pay for the map work?
Yes. I'll pay for the MAC work if you pay for the transformer, and I'll give you, if that 24-foot strips makes a difference, I don't think it does, Grant, do you?
In the long run, I don't see it making,
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, just because of the placement of it, you know what I mean?
It'd be 24 foot, and it'd be like this, he wants another strip, 24 foot more like that, so you have complete access into your, but then you still can't get in, you can't get, you can't get there, there's no way to get that thing from all the way to the end of the fence. So, there's no way to get in over here, you know, you can't, you dump on that side, you just have that access, so what Grant's saying is you have to have access through here, because they all, everybody comes off here, and they either go in there, or they come over there.
What's this gonna change?
Nothing. It gives you, in case Meadow Valley ever comes and says, hey, you cannot come through my property, then what happens?
Oh, is that their
That's
property?
Meadow Valley's, yes. They own all the way around you.
No, that's Rainbow Lane.
I mean, Rainbow Landing Cat, excuse me.
Oh.
Yeah. The same thing, yeah. Rainbow Landing Cat.
right now, don't you?
So we don't own anything up to that fence.
You don't own anything. No, you're landlocked.
Okay.
What?
So then this will be,
No, it's,
that will be ours here.
Yes. I'm trading you this
Nice.
for that.
I see.
Tit for tat.
Makes pretty common sense to me. I mean, it seems pretty straight and clear.
Still not sure on the transformer. First he said he was gonna pay
Well,
for it, then he said we
well,
were gonna pay.
He's
for
gonna
it.
pay for it
If
now,
we take the 24 feet, then he's not gonna pay for the transfer.
but we're not proposing that, I suppose.
And that's be this little section here. See?
Doesn't really like, Grant said it really doesn't do any good. Now that
We need land the other direction is the direction we need the land.
Yeah.
we need to go to bed all to Rainbow Canyon.
'Cause see, they own this, we don't own any of this property here.
That we're driving through?
Right.
Do we own it?
We own that.
We own that, one of those squares,
No, this whole section right here.
I thought they were.
clear to the highway?
No, well,
So I see why he's talking about the,
Okay, clear to here, okay,
yeah, that's what we own right there.
okay.
yeah, the 24
We don't
foot
know
would give
that,
us
we don't know that
access
section.
into that property at that point. You'd have to build a new road and do a, where right now it
This
doesn't gain us
section that
anything
he's
because,
coming in is right about
we still
here
gotta
then,
cross
right?
their land.
So we'll be able to drive into the,
so Grant, you see, I do see why that 24 foot makes a
We just
difference.
continue where we're at right now.
yeah,
Right now, we're driving on their, other people's property, just hoping they don't.
but why do we need to move the
But if you look at
transformer?
the placement of the
Because it's
transfer
gonna be on
station,
his
you
property
have to
now.
go across their property to get to the other side.
But if he gives us 24 feet on that, we do get
That's
access
24, that's.
all the way into our property with a new road.
And then he'll move it over.
Then
on
it's,
our
we own it all.
Let him move it.
Yeah,
Okay.
if we trade it.
Because we would, because now.
So, just to let this board know, the process is the same process that we'll have to do with the reeds that we did last year. Is I'll have to create a resolution, and then we'll have to do a deed off the resolution, but first we'll need to get a map, either a boundary line adjustment or actually, I think we'll need to do a parcel map, because we'll be creating a new parcel. And so we'll have to wait till the parcel map's done, it's recorded, we'll do a resolution, and then we'll do a deed. And so tonight, you guys just need to either approve moving forward with the land transfer or deny, whatever the board's
That's
flavor
fine,
is.
but I don't want to pay for a map that it's not gonna go through.
Right.
Yeah.
So they,
Then it's not gonna go through.
right, so they either approve the transfer or not, but we have a lot of steps to go, like,
Approve
it's,
the transfer with these steps.
yes.
All rolling, that gets everything going, and then, yeah, you wouldn't have to pay for anything if we deny it.
And it's actually won't be a parcel, it would be
It can't be a boundary line adjustment
It can't be a boundary line adjustment.
because we're creating a new parcel.
You can't attach it to the one we currently have.
No, it comes to a point, right? So it's two different parcels.
He gives us that 24 feet.
No,
He's not giving us a 24. Oh,
no, I'm not. Well, it comes to a point there.
Yeah.
It actually touches your property.
exactly. So we probably need to create a parcel map.
So I'll take.
But if we gave-
What I need to do is actually have to have two parcel maps then. We'll have to break your parcel out and have to break my parcel out.
Well, no, because, well, it'll be all on the same map regardless, even if we made two new parcels, because this one will just become part of this parcel, right?
Right.
If we had.
And this one will just be a brand new parcel, and it all can be on the same map. There'll be a boundary line adjustment and a
As it
parcel
is
map,
right
I
now,
guess.
we don't have access to our property because we
I don't
come
know.
to
I'll
this
talk to
point,
Tim Wolf.
Whatever, yeah.
which is why
whatever
we're arguing
requires-
about
Yeah.
the parcel.
Okay, because I think we just did one,
Add
it'll
that
be,
24 feet, then we can.
or we just do one parcel map creating two new parcels.
Right.
So
So-
Franklin, if we added that 24 foot, then it would touch our property and you could do a boundary line adjustment, correct?
Let me think real quick. Yes,
Then it would just be,
a boundary line
boundary
adjustment.
line adjustment.
And so if you did that, would you still pay for the transformer and,
I have to give you up an extra 24 feet of property? I'll still
Well,
pay
well,
for
that
the
makes us
parcel.
almost, that doesn't even get us to even pieces of property still, I would bet with that 24.
No, it gives us, it would give us more. I just did the math.
Oh,
It
did
gives us
you?
about 7,500 square feet.
Oh,
Because it's about 120 feet from the border of our property to the end, and 24 feet, yeah, it was about
but
7,500.
the boundary line adjustment would be cheaper than creating new parcels?
Okay,
Boundary line adjustment, parcel map, same price.
Yeah,
Same price,
it's,
so.
yeah, it's just the map that's costs the money, and it's just
what
one
are the
map.
red lines all together there?
Those are the red lines are the county's.
GIS.
Nation.
Yeah, the county's saying where the lines are, but if you actually look at them and there's a red line through your house, on your property, they're not quite accurate.
Tim Wolf about your.
Yeah, so what,
It's what you, that's the,
That's the accurate one. Yes.
okay.
What about half of that, 12 foot instead of 24?
yeah, it doesn't, it puts us in the same position. It doesn't
We need 24 foot to have
have
a
a
road
road.
to go into our property with.
We already got one.
We do, yes, you're right. If anyone came to fight us about it, we would win in court, because we have what's called a prescriptive easement, or we could even file a adverse possession claim on it. So that's not the problem. I don't think anyone can block us from using the road, because like I told Steve, if anyone buys that land, they have actual notice that there's a road running through their property. Even if it's not recorded in the Lincoln County Recorder's Office and someone tried to prevent us from using that road, we could probably get an injunction pretty well. And then we could just do a taking, I guess, a government taking of the land. So that's not the problem. It's just to make things as clean as possible if we wanted to put the new road there, and then it'd be on the map and everything. And so that was just my thought and suggestion, is just to make it clean and clear that we could put a new road there, put new gates up if we needed to. But if Grant's saying it's not worth it, then that's fine. I'm not concerned about that. I was just trying to clean it up so it's recorded and everyone knows where it's at. But it's not that big of a deal.
Okay. What do we want to do here?
I make a motion that we approve as Steve Caldwell has submitted, with the trade of 6677 square feet for 4570 square foot. And Steve paying the costs
Of moving the transformer and the map.
Transformer
and the maps.
and the city is going to fix the fence.
And we'll fix the fence.
We can move our fence.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve Mr. Coverwell's request to trade those two sections of land down there on the transfer station. All those in favor? Motion carries.
So like I said, the next step is Mr. Culverwell is going to get the maps. Once we get those maps, I'll do the resolution and prepare a deed as well.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, approve or deny update variance, agreement for Public Works Manager, Grant Perkins.
So I believe you guys all got a copy of that, right? So I've been here since March of 2019, and this is my first time approaching the board about a raise or redoing my variance or anything. So those are the things that I've asked for. I'm willing to talk, discuss.
Did you get a raise when the employees did this last time? Didn't?
On that, I checked on that as well. Currently, the variance item number C says use of city vehicle. Employee will be entitled to use the city vehicle for commute. Don't you already do that? Is this just from the old variance?
This is the old variance, and I've changed a few things in it, and all that is clarifying that I still continue to use the vehicle.
I was gonna say, I thought you already did that, so.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so the reason why it's called a variance, it's not changing anything from his last contract, it's because it's different than what our current personnel policy is. And so even though Grant's not covered under the CBA, so that wouldn't necessarily apply to him, and that's why it's in this agreement as well.
Okay, what are the differences in this variance from the first one?
So the pay, the clothing allowance, and
An extra week in the personal time off. Was it?
so what I've done is I've asked to just have it mirror city policy going forward.
Okay.
So rather than be stuck to a variance each year, if during the 3-year period, if you guys agree to this, my vacation time would up to 3 weeks, then you would just naturally up it because we put in there to move forward according to city policy.
The more time you work, the more years you work, the more vacation you work.
Correct. That your first,
Up to a certain point.
exactly, yes, sir.
All employees should be. And the $60,000.
I think you're looking at the wrong one, Tommy.
Yeah, you're looking at Craig Royson's on the 60. Grant's asking for 63,500.
250. 63,250.
63,250, yeah. The other question to that is, I mean, I know we're cutting our budget very close. Unfortunately, Dan's not here to
He
look
said
at
that
that.
on purpose.
Yeah, you know exactly, but, I mean, I don't know what that's gonna affect our budget, because I know that with what we're looking at currently, with the next Craig Royson asking an additional, and I know we were already pushing our limits.
The convenient, I don't know if it's convenient thing there, but Craig is paid out of the general fund and I'm paid out of the utilities funds. And with Craig's help, if he is agreed, if you guys hire him later, with his help, I think we could look at the budget and manage that together.
Yeah,
And I'll just throw this out there, and Grant's the one who requested on the agenda, if this board wanted to do like a character and fitness review with Grant, to discuss it in closed meeting, we can do that. The reason why it wasn't done this time is because this was kind of a hectic agenda put together, because Grant's also required to give a 5-day notice or a 10-day notice on a closed session for personnel stuff. But if that's something this board wanted to do, we could, and then take a look at the variance agreement and discuss that in closed session. Or if you guys just want to make a decision on the variance agreement, you're free to do that as well. If Grant's comfortable talking about his character and fitness in open meeting, you're welcome to do that, but I would make sure that's okay with Grant first, or if he'd prefer that in a closed session. If you guys are going to talk about his character and fitness and personnel matters like that. I'm just putting that out there.
And I will state for me there that I asked at my year mark to have a review done.
Yep.
And we've been talking about that for a while. It hasn't been done, so I took this approach. That was me.
What is your salary now?
55,000.
So this would be only 5% for the next, 5% a year for the next 3 years, correct?
That's what I asked for.
Okay, so in 3 years, I mean, he just stays at where he's at, so in 3 years, he'll be at 63,
No, I'm asking for 63
3
now.
now, and then 5%.
each 5% a year for the next year.
And so there's a couple things we can do there, is before the 3 years are up, is we can sit down and talk with Grant about just adopting a pay scale for that position and saying, this is what it's gonna look like after we're done with this agreement. Or we just renegotiate his variance agreement in 3 years again, or his employment
I
agreement.
guess that was my question, is if we'd be free to renegotiate after the 3 years if we were to.
Yes.
Okay.
He'd
It wouldn't
free
be
to-
something we're locked into.
Yep, he'd be free to negotiate in 3 years again.
What if,
Should I have another?
Did you have questions, Steve, or?
I was just wondering what the ordinary city employees get as an increase every year.
About,
Do they have one?
we did 4 or 5%? 4%.
Mhm.
I don't know, it is Grant. Just kidding. He said you're worth at least one more, aren't you?
Exactly, yeah.
He's the highest paid anyway, so 4% to him would be a lot more than the rest of the employees get.
He's not the highest paid, actually,
People in his crew make more than him, correct?
right?
Currently, last year I had an employee make more money than me. Yeah.
Yes, he had, an employee of his make more money than him last year. And so I think that was not the reason it came on, but that was a
It was in the
catalyzing factor, I guess, is what I'll say.
What kind of a uniform you gonna wear?
I'm gonna buy boots and nice shirts and things to wear just like my guys do. I'm not planning on wearing the same shirts they do.
And I'll say this, the collective bargaining agreement does have a uniform allowance for union employees.
Right.
So,
So he's not union, so I just
Correct.
wonder what kind of uniform he's gonna wear.
What
He
is
wants
your
a uniform
allowance now,
allowance.
or you didn't have one?
And
He's
so-
never had a clothing allowance or uniform allowance he's never had one.
correct,
Or he currently doesn't have one, I should say.
correct.
And as far as, our personnel policy has an appearance guideline in it, so
Correct.
he's covered by that. He's got to adhere to those standards.
Your salary now is what, 55?
I'm sorry, what?
Your salary now?
55.
Annually, it's 55,000.
Did Franklin or Grant or even Linda, did you guys discuss with Mr. MacArthur's office? What about the funds that we recently got, that one payment of 700,000? Is that something we can
I,
factor into this?
honestly, I'm really blind to the city's budget. I'm here during the budget meetings, and I remember our budget meeting a couple months ago, but day-to-day budget stuff, that was Amanda's wheelhouse. But we do have.
I'm just saying that because
the
like what
450,000.
Jamin said, as far as being stretched thin, but if we had some of
I
that
think there's
money
room
in
to
there,
make-
we can lock him up for 3 years.
I would like to do what we can here. Right now, I'm kind of on the fence on what's gonna happen with this next thing on our agenda here. Of hiring a new clerk. I just wondered if we can hold this off and talk to our budget people and check this out at the next meeting. That way we can discuss this, everybody can be more informed on what we're talking about. I'm not objecting to it, so, but.
So let's do it this way. If we're going to put on the next agenda item, let's do a closed personnel session with Grant. I just think it becomes more comfortable to talk about these types of things in a closed session. Obviously, we won't be able to make any action, but
Right.
based upon those discussions, then we can take an action in an open meeting.
Make an agenda
I'd
item
like
out
to
of it.
put that, may have a closed session like just
When did you
before our next
suggest
meeting.
this?
Fine with me, yeah.
Suggest this, the next meeting?
Meeting, yep.
Close this meeting, go into a closed session and come back.
Well, I think we can have it before this meeting, couldn't we?
No, so the closed session has to be part of the agenda, of the open meeting law agenda. We would just go into a closed session like we usually do, and it would be the 5 of us,
Oh, okay.
or the 5 of the city council and the executive staff. And we usually just go into the boardroom,
Okay.
do a closed session in there and come back. So we don't have to kick everyone out of this room because there's really nowhere else for anyone to go. But it does have to be an agenda item on the next meeting.
Everwell's been kicked out of bigger places than this.
Well, it's not a no, it's not a no.
Oh, yeah.
So do we need to make a motion that we
No, we can
take
just
that?
table it for now, and we'll just put it
table
on the
it.
next agenda. So there's gonna be two agenda items, a closed session and
Yeah.
a open session.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
You have something else?
Maybe 2.5 years, it's not gonna matter to wait 2 more weeks, right?
For the record, we were sworn in July of 2019 and have not got any raises up here.
Good call.
Yeah.
All right, then we will table this, item C, all right? Yep. To our next meeting, and we'll have a closed session set up. Okay. All right. Approve or deny hiring committee's recommendation for Greg Rossum.
Roysum.
Did see him online if anybody has
That's
questions.
what this one is.
Yes, that one's for Craig Royson. Who we're discussing now. It is at the bottom somewhere there. There was another page you're missing, but.
It's on page, it's right after the grants. It's right before that blue paper. In your packet, it's right before the blue paper.
So just to let this council know, I've been speaking with Mr. Roysum. He had a trip planned to Idaho for some time now, and he was unable to make it. He is on Zoom, and he is unmuted at this time.
Well, no, he's not. Oh, yes, he is. Oh, I don't know who I was.
Unmuted, that's a dangerous place to be.
A little bit louder, Craig.
I said being unmuted is a dangerous place to be.
I think the fee is way too high. To start out as a city clerk.
The anticipation is that this individual is a certified CPA. And so he runs a current business that way, and that was one of the considerations we had, was right now, we spend a lot of extra money getting that knowledge that a CPA already has, because we have to call Dan MacArthur's office to get simple answers, such as, can we afford Grant Perkins? Can we afford this position? Where this individual is a lot more qualified with those.
Any of our city clerks before the last three would have been able to get on the computer and tell you just exactly what we had left in each of the budgets. So that's something that
Right,
a new clerk would have to learn. Anyway, this salary is way too much to start out a clerk, in my opinion. The 4 weeks vacation is more than a starting employee would get, right?
that's
So
that's the same amount we gave to Grant when he first started. And it's not vacation, it's a combination of both the sick days and, so it's annual leave, it's not sick days and vacation days. So it's not that he would get 4 weeks of vacation and additional 2 weeks, it's just 4 weeks altogether.
It's combining the sick leave and annual and not putting the restrictions on the sick leave.
And if I'm reading that
So
right,
we're actually gaining some time in that.
and the employee will
taking
accrue,
less than what
is
we
that
give
1
our
2/3
employees.
days?
A month, yes.
1 2/3 days a month, so you can even use that unless he's here 12
What
months.
about his other business?
And Mr. Roysum can answer to that.
What about your other business?
Yeah, I think we came to the agreement that basically we were going to try to maintain things as best we could the same. I'm going to continue to maintain that business, but with the knowledge that the city is going to come first and make sure that everything is being done according to expectation. And then at any point in time, if the city council or anybody takes issue with the way things are going, or if it's not to your satisfaction, then within 6 months, we just part ways and no hard feelings.
So was that the hiring committee and Craig coming up with that, like a 6-month
it's-
probationary? Is that what I'm hearing, or
That's in the personnel policy, so that'll still be part,
of our policy anyway?
yeah, it'll still apply to him. So within the 6 months during the probationary period, if this council doesn't think he's performing up to the standards that the city has set for him, then as long as we get him by that 6-month probationary period and say, you're done, then that's in the personnel policy.
Are you gonna be able to run this other business in the evenings and on weekends?
Yes,
You won't be doing it on city time.
we had a discussion about that. Certainly the city work will be the priority. So I don't know where
You didn't answer the
I don't-
question.
There,
I'm gonna default to those who were involved in that discussion. I don't know what the right answer is there.
Well, and Craig, I've met you one time, and so take no offense, and me and Councilman Rao, we were not on the hiring committee. So maybe some of the other ones can pipe in here, but, yeah, that's our concern, that this city clerk job, and I'm sure Craig, you're aware, this is at least a 40-hour-a-week job, if not 50. Linda can attest to that. We've had 3 city clerks in the last 3 years, it seems like. We need stability, we need someone who, I mean, your pedigree speaks for itself, your experience, I'm sure you're a hard worker, but 40 hours a week plus, I mean, there's meetings, there's planning commission, I mean, you might be here sometimes 50, 60 hours a week. And Linda
think
can
that-
agree with that. So that's me as a councilman, my opinion, like if if this is the person that they selected, I mean, he's got to be all in, and I understand you have other businesses and clients and whatnot, but it's a lot of work.
Right.
The
And I think
discussion-
that's the reason why that was part of the discussion was there is going to be a lot of time I'm available 24/7 for all of my clients. So as far as what I do for the city wouldn't be any different. But that being said, if there's time when it's 50, 60 hours a week, it would also be nice to be able to take call from some of my clients during the day, knowing that I'm going to be putting in whatever time is required to make sure the city's work is done to everybody's satisfaction. It just leaves a little bit of room for me as a business owner to be able to answer phone calls or do things during the day when I know I'm going to be putting in the time to get the work done regardless.
This job.
I don't know if that's
This job is a career position, though. It's not a part-time position.
right. Right. My other clients are, I mean, if you want to call them that, they're definitely part-time. Not any one of them is a full-time job by any means.
and we discussed at length with Craig on this about the importance of the city business. And if you look in the past, there have been quite a few considerations made for previous employees in this position because they do have to work so many hours after hours, they have to work such odd hours, they have to be away from their family for conventions and trainings and different things. And so we allow them to take off in the middle of the day and go to their doctor's appointments, to go do other things during that time. And he's not asking for really anything different. His calls typically are very short, and with his clients that would call, it's just a very short conversation during the day in his office instead of, actually leaving and doing those things. But he also wants to be involved in the community. And one of the items that he talked about was, I want to be a part of coaching basketball, doing things like that. And I want to be able to make sure that I'm not set that I have to be there from 9 a.m. or from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. every single day. Maybe some days I need to leave at 3 o'clock to go to basketball practice or wrestling practice or things like that. He wants to be some flexibility there in those things.
The fee is way too much, in my opinion. Okay, do we have any other questions?
was just gonna say, he was upfront with us and let us know what was going on in the hiring interviews. And I think that speaks a lot about what he would do here as well. That there wouldn't be any questions about what was going on. You could talk to him about what he was doing in the office. He'd give you the answers of what was going on. And that was all brought up ahead of time, and we discussed it, as a hiring committee, those of us that were there, and didn't see an issue with him taking phone calls and doing stuff during the day, but he may have to stay after, and we talked with him about that as well. Be willing to stay after and make sure the city's work got done that day for the things he needed to do, or take it home with him, which he does with his clients already. So I think what we know about him already speaks to his character and can help us with making that decision.
Well, I know with talking to him, he is very open with any questions you have of him on anything, his personal life even. So I think he's very upfront with everything he's doing. I think if you had a problem, there would be no problem with you sitting down and talking to him face to face with any problem.
I'd like to add something. Also, his previous experience in his CPA, in my estimation, that would, whereas the 3 clerks we've had before were not CPAs, were not trained in bookkeeping or any of that, I'm assuming he would be able to finish work quicker than, say, they would have been able to. So, you know, I just would like to point that out.
And what we talked about also was with his abilities to do the bookworking and all this stuff, over the last years, as far back as I can remember, when I was fire chief, I'd come in here and talk to the clerks and stuff in here. They had almost a phone line to our auditor in Vegas, where they talked to him about everything that was going on. And every time you call him up, it costs us money.
Mhm.
And I think with this guy's experience as far as that, I mean, he's asking for more money, but I think with his experience and with his abilities, I think we're gonna save that much money without having to spend extra. As far as our budget goes, as far as paying for our auditor that we have, they have a certain amount that we contract with him, and then everything that we call extra is paid extra on top of that, and it almost equals what is in his contract. So we actually pay a pretty big fee for right now for what we do. I was looking at Craig's abilities as saving us money in that direction. It may end up being the same amount of money paid out, but it's going to a different hole.
And you also got to look at, he's been an office manager in the past of a couple different businesses. So he already knows HR policies, understands how personnel and those kind of things. It's not just that he's a CPA, he also has office experience of how to deal with customer service and employees and what's acceptable in personnel policies and those kind of things. And so I think overall for the value, what we're getting a person that can step into this job and knows a lot of things where we've been trying to catch people up and get them to learn. He already understands a lot of those principles and how to just implement that and move that forward. And so we're gonna see him pick things up pretty quickly.
Mr. Katchke, our personnel, our file, our policy, I guess, in 6 months, is that a mutual thing? Is that we sit down, give him an evaluation?
Yeah,
Is
so
that-
the personnel policy is 6-month probationary period. In fact, the board can extend that for another 6 months if they need to make any improvements. But yeah, we would just say, let's schedule, if he were to be hired today and say his start date's, I don't know, August 16th or whatever, right? Then we'll say on February 16th, or before February 16th, we're going to have a closed session to do a character and fitness or personnel session with Craig to determine whether or not we want to move forward with his employment or separate ways by that point.
My question, yeah, just if it's a mutual thing or if that's something
Yeah,
yeah.
it's in the personnel policy, so, I mean, he'd have to abide by that.
Well, if what I was, what I think is true, and he can save us money by not being on the line to our other CPA that we contract with, if he can save us half of what we pay extra above and beyond the deal, we're gonna get this employee at the same cost we had our last clerk. I think we can save that
I
much
better,
money.
I just wanted to note, and I think I hopefully I was clear on this. As a certified public accountant, I'm licensed in the state of Idaho still. I'm not a licensed CPA in the state of Nevada, so I'm not allowed to use those credentials as a public accountant. That's something that is in the works of moving that over to the state of Nevada, but currently I'm not able to practice in the state of Nevada or list my name, I should say, as a CPA in the state of Nevada. That's something that is tied to Idaho still. It doesn't really make any difference as far as the training and education goes, but it is just, I just want to make sure that's understood.
Yeah, I don't see that being a problem. I mean, we don't have any licensed CPAs working here before. The knowledge is what I'm looking at.
You know, if I may say something, I'm, I'm a contract employee, I understand that, but I think it would be a mistake to not hire Craig, because you're right, he has the knowledge and the ability to get this job done in half the time that the other people have spent trying to do it.
Yep, I agree.
He can hit the ground running as soon as he gets it, because he's got so much knowledge that they just didn't have, that we were having to train them, and so.
In this day and age, the money that he's asking for is not exorbitant.
Yep, I agree.
On the hiring committee could probably tell us that 60,000 is probably, we're at the max. I mean, that's probably, we're stretched. That's probably, according to our budget, that's all we can do. Right?
That's the max.
Well, we have personnel here that can answer that question for us.
We're all looking at you, Dan.
Welcome back.
You didn't stay gone long enough.
We're discussing this with Craig on hiring Craig, and he's asking for 60,000. And in my opinion, with all the extras and stuff that we have to pay, having people come up here and work with these people, his knowledge would save us a bunch of money, I believe.
And your office kind of said that our budget was around 57,000. We could comfortably
Yeah.
manage that.
So I have to be careful, and I'm not having you make, I'm not part of making the decision. Let me say this, with Craig here, the amount we charge will drop. So, you know, I know in one place, for instance, I believe with him here, that, for instance, the audit fee he got charged this last year, that'll drop by at least, I'm gonna say between 20 and 35%, 20 to 40%. Okay? And I believe that over the next year, you'll see that to me, maybe not in the first year, when Craig gets, until someone's on the ground running. Okay? And then I believe that the time we spend with budget will be reduced greatly, or over time completely eliminated. So I think those two areas would save you, I'm gonna say $20,000-$30,000.
And we were only $3,000 away from his
And
asking price right now.
that's about what I was figuring too.
I couldn't hear that very well, but it probably doesn't much matter whether I heard it or not.
Yeah, Mr. MacArthur was just saying that based upon rough estimates, over maybe not the first year if they were to hire you, but after that, it would decrease by $20,000 to $30,000 per year if you were to get hired. Correct, Mr. McArthur?
Yes, that's straight on the line.
Yes.
Yes, that would be my estimate. Definitely up to 20, okay?
Well, I screwed up then.
You did.
Exactly.
Well, I guess, help answer what you just said. That's money, some of that money's not in the budget. It just had to be, it occurred because of some things that took place with COVID, and so I better just stop.
Okay,
Well, I make a motion that we approve the hiring of Craig Roysum with the terms of $60,000. And as it was lined out in the variance, I don't see any other concerns.
I'll go ahead and second the motion.
okay, we've got a motion and a second to hire Mr. Rossum, in compliance with this, employment variance agreement. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You have to ask for an opposition vote.
Do we have an opposition vote?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard, Greg.
Thank you.
So I,
Well, when do you want me to start? I don't know.
Tomorrow.
If that was ever...
Morning.
Tomorrow morning at 8.
you back in town, Craig?
I'll be back. Yeah, I mean, I was assuming if it went through that I'd be there on Monday. So
Everyone's nodding their head, so they'll see you Monday. I've got federal district court jury duty, so I will not see you Monday.
okay, all right. I'll plan on being there Monday.
Okay.
Now it's just reports.
Update concerning ongoing grants administration. It's got our city clerk down as Anderson, but I think we have to
Oh, dang.
change that. But
Yeah, bummer. That is all good. Basically, I'm gonna be reaching out to Carmen to see if she will be attending this next meeting via Zoom. And, yeah, now that you've hired Craig, I can really start getting back into what I need to be doing.
And we appreciate everything Linda's been doing us for the past month. She's picked up a lot of slack.
Thank you. Got the agenda wrong.
Appointed contract personnel reporting, city clerk, acting city clerk.
It's been busy. We've been, just basically, we got the bills out. I did finish those QES reports for the Department of Taxation, so we're all caught up with those, depending on if they're right. I believe they're right. I did them the way that they were done before, but, so all of our quarterly reports are up to date, so Craig won't have to come in and have to rush to get any of that done. Did payroll, we've just been helping customers and, doing what you do in the office.
Hey, we have any questions for Linda? Okay. Public Works Manager's report.
So just kind of gonna go through the different utilities. In water, we repaired a 4-inch main that was leaking out by the transfer station that runs across Steve's property. We will, in the future, I believe, be hooking a meter into where we just repaired for Steve as well. The repairs, if you remember last meeting, I told you well 1 was down. We got the parts for that and the controls and got them hooked back up, so well 1 is back up and running. We read meters during the last 2 weeks. We also read power meters at the same time. In sewer, at our Sewer plant, we went down and put new brushes on the splitter screen to fix it, get it going, as well as put in some new controls there. And once we got those in, it still didn't work, so we're still troubleshooting what's going on there. And in the meantime, the guys get to clean the sewer screen manually with a pitchfork and do it that way instead of having the machine do it. Over the last couple of weeks, the power company's been here and done quite a few things as far as trim trees, locate lines for a customer. They replaced the transformer at Dixon Park. If you guys remember, I told you it was out last time. We did not have one in our inventory. They did find one in theirs. They were able to bring down and put on it, but we're going to have to pay for that when they're able to get a new one. I think they said it's about 6 weeks out, and they won't give them a price until it's ready to ship. So they're ordering one, and we'll get the bill for that when it comes. They've also responded to a couple of power outages since our last meeting. In our solid waste department, we had an inspection July 14th from NDEP, on-site inspection. Their letter to us was very short, said there were no violations found and litter was clean and neat. That was it. So we did have an inspection. We passed. So, guess we can't say with flying colors, but there were no issues. So we also got the brakes all fixed on the garbage truck, including the parking brakes, the Maxis, that had an air leak in it and it was replaced, and the other brake chamber that I told you guys about last time. Parks, the mowing guys have kept up with mowing and fixing sprinklers, and they've been moving along on the walking path along the creek, and they, not quite done, but they're really close to finishing everything from the BLM down to my shop parking lot there. I think they stopped right behind your house today or a little bit past it.
Did they get the water fixed back there?
They told me they've got everything running.
Because I know that, unless they fixed it today, there's never been any water running that thing all year in that one section.
Which,
I watch it all the time, and it's the section
can I
just
put,
right behind Cody Christensen where his old house was, on that circle thing where they got the
Yeah.
park thing?
Yeah.
Right there.
so can I get them with you tomorrow? Because they told me they've checked all the bubblers and all the bubblers were working, and that was yesterday.
Okay, and they may have done that, but I
But-
haven't been down there in the last few days. But I know a week or so ago, there's water lines sticking out of the ground, and there's never been any water run out of them. And those trees, all the shrubs along there are dead,
Okay.
because they have
So-
not been watered this year.
And they told me they went through and fixed water before that, so I'm not going to be here tomorrow. So Thursday, I
Okay.
will
Yeah,
I'll get with
I
you
won't,
and them.
yeah. I won't be here Thursday.
Okay, well, I know kind of what you're talking
Talk
about.
to them, but their water box is right behind there, it's full of water. The water box has got a leak in it itself.
Okay,
They haven't done anything in that. And I believe that's the control box that's not working.
okay. So I just wrote that down, so I will get with,
Yeah, it's
You or
from
the-
those water boxes to the bridge. So it's just that one little section there.
okay. All right. So moving on with the report for our pool. Last day of the pool will be open will be August 13th. That's not quite 2 weeks on a Friday. And I've told my lifeguard crew that they're gonna come in on Saturday and do a cleanup of the building, everything, get stuff put away and taken care of for storage over the winter. I told them if they wanted, they could bring in a barbecue grill and have an end of the year party when they were done there for themselves, so. And the other thing that we've been doing is, during the last meeting, we had the floods. We spent all the next day, Friday, cleaning up Denton Street, and then it flooded over that weekend, and we had to clean up a little bit out of Newman Canyon, where it ran into Meadow Valley Wash and blocked it off. So we spent some time there cleaning up. And we had a little bit run down Spring Street, but the retention basin at the top still has not completely dried out. But when it dries out, we're gonna go in there and clean that retention basin out from the flood. And that's my report. Has anybody got any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Have you inventoried and sent that information to the power district on the lights that are out?
So the problem we have is when you told me all the lights were out from, was it the post office down this way? The next time I was here at night, they were all on. So.
Are they on a timer or a light?
Solar.
A photo cell.
Okay.
So we're having issues with the controller there. So yes, they do have a bunch of information on individual lights that are out that we know are easily fixable, but things like that, I talked to them and they said the amount of time troubleshooting it is going to be a problem. So we're discussing with Steve and Jamin is replacing everything with LEDs so we could get rid of the ballast, which would probably be the problem, or one of the controls in the main head. But that's going to be a longer term fix.
I got a question too. On this, I don't know, this NDOT money that we had to clear that bridge down there, what's happening with that?
So what's happening with that is I've been in touch with Chris, I can't remember Chris's last name. I need, because I've talked with Jamin, I believe I talked with you, we need to do one small purchase, send them a purchase order, and then make sure they're going to pay and things are working, and we'll move forward. And we do have until, not that we want to spend it all, but we do have until the end of, next June to do this. But me and Chris have been discussing it and working in that direction, so.
Okay.
It's one of those things that I work on a lot of other stuff because it's kind of got a further out deadline, and I guess I need to move it up.
Okay. Any questions for? Okay. Discussion of legal issues, Mr. Katsky.
Yeah, so I got a question from, I think it was Tommy about this at the beginning of the meeting. Maybe it was Jamin, I forget, I'm sorry. But I received a call from Mayor Rao late last week actually, because we received some documents from a title company that they wanted some signatures on. I reviewed those documents. The problem was that the deed in those documents referenced one of the entire parcels of the Meadow Valley Industrial Park. And I obviously told the mayor not to sign those documents because that's not the deal. Apparently the map had not been recorded yet. Grant got that map last week, Thursday, I believe it was. It's recorded. It's on the recorder's website right now. I see that it has been recorded. I'm not sure if the assessor has assigned it a parcel number. I'll check with him tomorrow. But now we're just waiting for documents from the title, correct documents from the title company that has the appropriate legal description on there. So I don't think it's anything to worry about. It just takes time sometimes. So that's where we're at with the sale of that land. I think, if I remember right, that's it at this point. I've been back and forth with Grant and Craig about their variance agreements this past week, but most of that's been taken care of at this point, so.
Questions
I have a
for?
question, a legal question. Remember a couple of meetings ago, we talked about some of these city-owned properties that we wanted to maybe put up for sale. Can you tell us, I mean, I guess we have to get those things appraised. Where are we at with that?
The first thing we have to do is we actually have to adopt a resolution of appraisers that we can use. I've talked to one, I've got his CV, and I've got the resolution mostly written. And then I'm just looking for a second one at this point because the resolution has to have 2 people on it actually. And so I'm just in the process of finding a second person who can do commercial appraisals as well as.
Okay, I just kind of want to know where we're at with that, so.
So it's
Some
on my
investor to
pile.
come talk to me.
Any other questions?
I got one more for Grant. Was the roof on the fire hall finished?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item D, building inspector's report.
I don't have a whole lot to report this time. Planning Commission at our meeting next year or tomorrow, actually, are going to start working on the grass and weeds in town. That parcel map for Jim Bourne, I took to him a week ago, and he sat on it for this long. I'm glad to see he's finally getting something done. Unless somebody's got any questions, that's all I have.
Looks like you got a good building going on straight across the street here.
Yeah, they're doing a good job over there. Well, that's been long, and I don't worry about him doing something He's always busy for a reason.
Any other questions for building inspector? Discussion of issues related to public safety. We don't have anybody here from the sheriff's office or the fire department. Anybody have any concerns? Okay. Discuss of council members' responsibilities, Parks and Beautification Committee, Mr. Fitzsimons.
Nothing new on beautification, other than our next meeting will be August 17th, which will be the third Tuesday of the month. I guess my other thing was the walking path, but we already kind of discussed that. In a positive light, from about your house, Mayor, down towards the BLM Bridge. I usually walk that about every night. It's looking really good. Things are getting watered, and they've got all the weeds, and there was some rabbit brush that was kind of infringing there from the trails, and those guys have done a great job, so I commend them on that. And this has nothing to do with beautification or parks, but I want to commend Linda Butler for doing all the stuff she's done the last couple of weeks. Every time I come in, she's got things ready for me, and so I just, want to give a shout out to her.
Any questions for Sean? I like to say that those guys are doing a really good job back there behind. There was some tree limbs hanging out, and I trimmed some of them, but I didn't want to trim them back too far. And they come in and really trimmed them back, so it looks good now. All right, community development and planning, Mr. Rao.
All right. Like our building inspector said, our planning commission meeting isn't until tomorrow. I will not be available to be at that meeting tomorrow, so depend on Ken and Linda to
Keep
me
me informed.
Keep me informed. Today, the Lincoln County Rural Transportation Commission met, and the city has available $26,273.40. Whether he's gonna request that to the board for approval, or whether he's gonna let it build up for next year, that's gonna be up to him. There was two requests that we filled today. One was from Panaca for $12,000, and one was for the Lincoln County Road Department for $197,900. Our next Lincoln County Regional Development meeting will be on the 16th, and it'll be a Zoom meeting. If you're interested, you can get the Zoom number from either City Hall or from me on it. And that's all I got to report.
Any questions for Tommy? Okay. Tourism Boxcar Museum, Mr. Laveri's not here. Do you have a report or anything for the?
Well, I wasn't prepared for it, but,
Give us an update.
yeah. Boxcar Museum's coming along great. Our chair, our intermediate chair, Rick Phillips, is doing a great job. They're setting up the interior of the Boxcar Museum to flow from one year to the next. So giving the tour will be easier for those of us who sit in there for a couple hours. So that's a great job that's being done. We're planning for a new deck between the museum and the caboose, because as it stands now, there's no way you can make that handicap accessible with the way it stands. But we've got plans for that, and we're going to be coming after some motel tax to get that job done. We're going to be working with, I think, Vincent, is it Cliff Jensen?
Jensen.
Cliff Jensen to get those up to the specific specs that we need. And we're looking at getting that done in the next 2 years. So we're trying to get it going so that we have something to display in the caboose itself for our visitors to see. So I'm very enthused. Rick's doing a great job, and we got, Mr. Anyway, they work together on coordinating these efforts. And it takes a lot of work. And so anyway, we're moving right ahead. As far as tourism is concerned, we're working on developing a new motto, I guess you call it. It used to be the P-Man and the Get Primitive. It's going to change because the ethnic issues that it causes are having to be addressed. And we're coming up with some good things. I think one of the things that we're looking at is the mining, the railroad, the farmers and cowmen should be friends, and the space people out there, and Rachel, and all of those things. So we're going to try to wrap that all around in a single effort. So we're moving on that, and I think we're making some considerable. We have lots of grants out. We're building a new sign at the border of Clark and Lincoln that will be a digital sign, and to attract more visitors from Clark County as they come through. And so it'll be able to display different things. So anyway, we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and that's my report.
Thank you.
Have you any idea how many visitors the museum gets?
72
For how
for the
long?
month of July.
For the month of July.
Right.
Thank you.
That's how many documented you had go in the museum. We have a lot of people come to this thing every day. I know that.
Well, I know that too. But we've expanded our Saturday stuff, and that has been one of the questions is people need to go to the bathroom, and we'll be discussing that with you too. I don't know what the solution is exactly, but hopefully we can come up to something so that our visitors, on regular days, we're okay, because we have accessibility. But on Saturdays, it's a problem. And that's it.
Thank you.
Public utilities.
Nothing major to report. Grant's covered it.
Anything else you need to say, report on?
I think so.
Okay. Okay, Linda has been doing a bang-up job in here. She's pulling her hair out, trying to keep up and get the reports done and get things backed up. I don't know what the deal is here, but I know when you're gone, your subordinate under you gets your salary for that time. Then they get paid extra?
They get paid 10% more of their salary.
10% more? Okay, well, I think we need to do that with our clerk here also.
Actually, that's part of our CBA.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's done.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
You could give me a bonus, though.
All right. Public comment. Do we have any public comment? Nope, come ahead on.
Actually, Kim, I just want to spend 5 minutes with you, but I got here 5 minutes too late. I just want to talk about Linda putting together the quarterly economic surveys, and not necessarily some direct phone calls we got, but some indirect phone calls. I think it's great she got those to the state, okay? The more often you send in late reports, the more they're going to be looking at you, okay? When I was here in May, not in May, in April, we talked about where things were to, okay? At the time, I was pretty positive that, okay, you're going to start seeing things on a monthly basis, okay? it appears that may not have happened, okay? I know, just so you're aware, one of the big issues has been the Cassell program, okay? Not necessarily that maybe Cassell's a problem, but there has been some issues with it. I know that the bank accounts have been reconciled through April, March or April. I don't know if anything happened from April to the present. So these are things that when Craig comes in here, gonna need to be dealt with, okay?
Okay.
To get those things reconciled. Stacy, who works for me or with me, okay, you know, if she needs to come up here for a day and spend the time with Craig, then she'll be here if you need that, okay? My understanding is that the city has made a decision to buy a complete new software program. Is that correct? Is that happening now?
It's in the process.
And will that eliminate Cassell completely, and will all the utility buildings go through the new program?
Eventually, my understanding, Linda's more up on it than I am, but my understanding is they're kind of getting at a unit at a time.
Yeah, we're technically, we've bought in and we get to test the product and also let them know what works for us so that they will build the product to our needs.
Your specifications.
Yes, exactly. And that's kind of difficult, especially being as small as we are. A lot of these programs, they're just geared for big urban settings. And so that's why we decided to go with that company.
So just as an outside auditor, one of my concerns is, and this has been one of the issues with Cassell, and I think it's an issue of getting reports to each of you every month, is that the way the Cassell program works is it takes all the utilities and it commingles a lot of the information, okay? For instance, when it comes to the billings, and there's receivable, I'm gonna get way too bean counter here. You have an electrical, you have a sewer, you have a water department, you have the solid waste department. When the billings go out and you get a receivable balance at the end of the month, it's only in one combined fund. And this has been the way it's been with the city for, frankly, before I ever came around here. It has to do with the way the Cassell program is set up. And so I'm just bringing this up with this new program that's coming online to be able to get the reports out, I think, that on a monthly basis you're going to want to see, and that Grant's going to want to see. I think they need to make sure they have this set up so that using fund accounting, they can have that separated and give you what you need, so it doesn't require a bunch of additional entries each month, okay? So anyway. Do you follow what I'm saying with that?
When we were discussing putting this program in, I was under the impression that they had contacted you and informed him about what this program was, and so that he could look at it and see what it would work. So I'm kind of disappointed that that didn't happen.
Now, maybe they contacted Stacy in my office and she never told me,
Okay,
but I don't think she knows anything about it either.
okay.
Okay?
Well, I'd like to have him see what this program is, so that he understands what we're doing. I thought you had been informed on this thing, so
I thought you had a
I
large part in
apologize.
it.
That's fine. I was surprised when I heard the decision, not that it has anything to do with me being in the decision process. Another concern I have is to make sure, and this is one thing that Grant has pushed really hard, and that's he wants the payroll allocated where everyone works. Right now, there's been a great effort to get it done that way.
Yeah,
I hope this program is going to do the same thing, to give Grant the information he needs to properly manage each one of these departments.
well, I think after talking to these people, when we had a meeting with them, I believe that's gonna be the process. I think it's gonna work out better, but I'm not up on all this stuff either. That's why I think we ought to make sure you see what's going on.
One of the difficult things with a governmental software program is that you don't have one set of books. You got 10 or 20 or 30 or 100. And the biggest difficulty is when you have one bank account that services the 100 funds or 20 funds. There's an issue with making sure that the cash in each one of the funds is handled properly. And I think that's a real important thing. And there's an issue when you have, like in this instance, you have individuals who work for each one of those funds, mostly out of Grants Department. And we just need to make sure that when I say we, I gotta be careful, I don't get in trouble here. Okay? I'll say we, okay.
We'll claim you.
Yeah.
Many won't, so thanks, okay? Just to make sure that it's gonna provide what you need.
Okay, I think Craig being in that position is gonna help us out a bunch by seeing that, so.
I've talked to Craig a few times, I think he's gonna be a real benefit,
So
help you out here.
can I ask you two questions from what you've said? You talked about the new accounting software. You mentioned fund accounting. Is that just a description or is that an actual nomenclature for a way of accounting?
Nomenclature for any government.
Okay, so I've written that down so I can talk to Craig about it, so we can follow up on that. My second thing that I have pushed and you talked about was paying people appropriately for which fund they work out of. And I had a discussion with a prior city councilman that said that I'm gonna run into nightmares with that. And I'm just asking for advice here, not you to make a decision. But he said in the past, they just paid people from different accounts because one year sewer would use a ton of money and then the next year they wouldn't use any. And it was really hard to budget, and it was easier to just decide, we're gonna pay this person a portion of sewer, this person out of water, and so on and so forth. Just your opinion on that. I know mine doesn't have as many years of experience in Caliente as that former councilman did.
Okay, so to answer the question, if you truly want to be able to manage the city, you have to have the actual expense into each fund. If you don't, then you're gonna run into a problem. And I know I'm over my 3 minutes, but he asked me a question. Okay, sorry. I'll give an example. When I was here before, Grant was talking about, we talked about the solid waste fund. And we're concerned because the solid waste fund is not bringing enough money to cover the costs. Well, if we follow that train of thought and we were burying the cost of solid waste over in the electrical department or someplace else, then you don't get the true cost. And at some point in time in the future, there becomes a problem where you can't do that anymore. And now you got a huge problem sitting over there with solid waste. So it's really important that they get separated.
Okay.
And one of the things when we would come in and look, we would see where the money had been put in this fund or this fund or this fund. But generally accepted auditing principles and accounting standards won't let you do that. It may have been budgeted that way, but it has to be where the costs actually are. And if they're not, quite frankly, then you can't manage properly. That's my long answer to the.
So continue forward is your opinion? Continue forward is your opinion?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think you need to have the costs where they actually are incurred.
Yeah.
Okay? There is a habit to say, well, this fund, electrical fund's doing well, or the water fund's, well, let's just put everybody there, Or let's.
Sorry to cut you off. I'll just chime in there too. It's impossible to make good decisions when you don't spread those out appropriately. You can't make good decisions if the data coming in doesn't give you a real picture of each fund. So
And if
we'll have to get that cleaned up.
And I think that's really important. If you remember when I came in here, in April to talk about the audit, one of the things that we did is I forget his name. Who got hurt?
Bert.
So Bert was placed in one, in a fund where he really shouldn't have been placed. Okay. And so it skewed things, but so we proposed making corrections to get that right. And once we did, and we got everything allocated, it was amazing to us how the total budget that had been put together for all the wages, everyone in the city, when allocated correctly, came within a few $1,000s of what you'd budgeted at the beginning of the year. So to me, that tells me you were on track. But sometimes we fall back into old ways, and let's just put it over here, and we're not consistent. So, okay. I just wanted to bring that up because I got concerned because of the calls that Linda was getting. I know she did talk to Stacy in my office. We didn't have any paperwork at the time to be of assistance. We got some calls from other places, what's going on with Caliente, and okay. I was under the impression those reports had been done, but obviously I was wrong.
Yeah.
So.
It's all good now,
Okay.
I mean, I'm hoping they're right.
Well, hats off to Linda for figuring that out and getting them out the door, okay?
She did it.
The only thing that can become difficult on those goes back to these utility funds. The other funds aren't, I don't think there's any issue with what Linda sent in. Utility funds are just, they're a problem because of the way the system currently works. Okay?
Okay,
Takes more work, so, okay.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
If I could just have 2 or 3 minutes of your time after the meeting
Yep.
about the current.
Mr. Carwell.
Since in this meeting, you've talked about 2 things, my memory has been jogged. You talked about Grant talked about up on Spring Heights, our little catch basin up there, that I donated property in a contract with the city. And part of that contract also dealt with the rodeo grounds, and that was brought up that that's gonna be for sale, so. I just wanted to make the city aware, I've talked with Grant about this a number of times, but I wanted to make you all aware that you are in default of a contract you signed with me. And in that contract, and you were there, Mr. Rao, in that contract, I donated the property up there for that catch basin up on the top of Spring Heights. And in exchange for that, you were gonna fix the road coming from Haystack through the rodeo grounds out, and it was gonna be up to city standards, paved, et cetera, and that was supposed to happen within a year's time, and that's 5 years ago. So you're kind of been in default for 4 years. I just wanted to make you aware of that, because as you're talking about, it could be even longer than that, yeah, because you're talking about selling the rodeo grounds, but I think that needs to be taken care of before you make any attempt to sell the rodeo grounds, so. Because I want
I agree with you 100%. I actually discussed that, so, yes, I wanna bring that right straight out of there, and we're looking at doing some road work. I think that's something we need to
Put in the plans.
put into plans, yep.
Anyway, just wanted to make you aware of those. As I was sitting there, I remembered that I've talked to him about it a couple of times.
And you've talked to me too.
Okay.
It's still in my head.
I'm not trying to press the issue at all, but as you talked about selling the rodeo grounds, I think that probably ought to be taken care of before you make an attempt to sell, because, I mean, having a permanent road through there will maybe change the value of the rodeo grounds a little bit. Maybe not, I don't know.
Okay, any other public comment?
Yeah, one more. And the light issues, I come at dark down the Clover Street Extension lots. The lights constantly go out and come back on. I think there must be something in there that they get hot and they shut down for a little bit and then they'll come back on. And that's why Tommy may have saw them out and then you
Are
saw
you
them on.
talking Clover Street or down?
Clover Street and from the top of the tracks all the way down to the turnoff to my house. Those lights constantly are going out and coming back on. It's just, I see them all the time going out. I think it's something, something electrical in my body that's causing them to go out. That's why I tell my wife, and we go by the one, she goes, wow, that went out, so.
Your headlights adjusted up, shining on the photo cell.
So I think there must be something in there, some kind of safety feature so they can't burn out, that shuts them down, and then they'll come back on. So that's maybe what you saw.
I agree with that one. Any other public comment?
Can I make a comment again? I
Yes.
apologize. So I want to, I hope this is not news to anybody, because I'm pretty sure this has come up in every conversation we've had, but it wasn't specifically addressed. My wife is due with a baby any day now. I don't intend to take any time off for that, but I may have to run her to St. George to have a baby. So I wanted to make sure that I think we discussed that in the interview process, but if that makes a difference, we may need to reconsider where we got to already today.
I think we can handle that.
Got your back,
Okay.
Craig.
Thanks.
We got you on this one.
All right.
Any other public comment? If not, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. What's that?
August 19th.
That's after public comment. Should be before.
My schedule, because I'm gonna get real busy here in about 5 days with everything going on in my other job. But, so I had as August 19th, which is the third Thursday of August. Okay, and I'd like to get Depot, she said Depot would be on the next agenda, the Depot, the girl on Zoom. But shouldn't we be hearing from LCPD? Haven't heard from them.